Cultist here. Just letting you know, before the show starts, we had to record elsewhere this episode, and so in lieu of the subject matter at hand, we decided to do the show in an abandoned local TV studio that had a lot of open space and charred wooden walls. The whole place was gutted and scorched by some long-ago fire. Anyway, because of this, the episode's sound quality will differ from our usual episodes. I hope you don't mind. My sincerest apologies. Not much could be done on the editing table. Without further delay, I hope you enjoy this week's episode. On with the show. Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
Yes, unfortunately, the good doctor could not be here today, but we are here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta. And tonight we have about Candle Cove. So, for starters, this isn't a written creepypasta as far as I can tell.
No, not at all.
We can't find it online as a written form. We found it, a listener sent us an email about it with a link to a podcast that listens to it. Radio Free Caemlyn, I believe?
RFC. So, yeah.
So we gave it a listen, and it's pretty much every Candle Cove fanfiction that has been done. It takes the whole idea of Candle Cove not being just static and you're crazy, and everyone around you who's talking about Candle Cove as if it's an actual thing is crazy. No, it gets rid of all that weird mystery of why was it static? No, it gets rid of all that and just no, this was an actual production in the 70s, and
so it's doing something different at least, right?
Yeah, but I would be fine with that if every other one does that. if every other one doesn't do that, which we've back in the day. If you haven't listened to the first episode of Dente Rigamortis, go listen to that, because that was our first episode, was Candle Cove and a couple of the fan fictions, I guess, of it. I remember going through it a couple of other ones, and including the ones that were on that show. There were a lot of ones that tried to explain it as if it was an actual creepy, Huffington, or no, Captain Stuff and Puff.
I don't.
Some kind of that's an actual horror thing or something from a kid show that's actually really creepy in the 70s that had to do with puppets.
Yeah.
And I think Candle Cove was actually inspired by it, but
probably.
Anyway, yeah, a lot of these Candle Cove spin-off things or stories end up being oh, this is a creepy 70s kid show, and it was actually produced, and it was the director was nuts and stuff like that. And that's kind of the premise of this one. At least once you get past all the gratuitous detail of the narrator's life.
Yeah, because at the start of it, I think I didn't actually see the timestamp, but it's probably a good 10 minutes of describing this guy's day-to-day life before the story even starts.
Yeah, he goes into detail and says, well, I was in this dead-end job, and then I went to this dead-end job, and that's me paraphrasing. He actually goes into detail of what job he was in, and then I finally found this newspaper article that's described a job at a local studio, and I went over there.
I got in my red sedan, because he had to make sure that the listeners know that he had a red sedan, because he could have had a blue truck, and that would have completely changed the story.
Exactly. And he goes to the front door, it's locked, so he decides to go the break and entering route and try to look for another way in.
Right away, you should think that something's up when that's happening right there.
And then he finds a door that's open, and an old man comes up, and it's a producer of the shows. And says, "Oh, I'm so glad somebody finally answered our advertisement." And he grips his hand really tightly, almost breaking it.
Yeah,
it kind of sounded like.
Yeah, I think it said when he got out of the handshake, his hand was literally numb
and red. And
yeah.
And then so this guy brings him in and shows him all the different shows, and this irked me a little bit because as he was going through, he was going through the different shows, and each one he was he was just the narrator who was trying to find a job, was just like, no, I'm not. I don't want that one. No, I don't want that one. No, I don't want that one.
Which doesn't bother me.
I know
because that's what you would do in that situation.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it had to be written or like said differently. Like he not going because the way the story shows it is like he goes to this one and they describe the show and then he describes why he didn't like it and that's why he said no.
Mm-hmm. Like the first one is because it had clowns in it and he has a fear of clowns,
which it actually does the scientific name of clowns, and we were like, what? And then the guy is like, who's
right when we were about to pause it to go Google it, the guy starts saying which means thank you for doing that.
Yes,
which that was very nice.
And then so I just feel like it's just me. Maybe it's just me picking on like because from an employment point of view, it seems like he should have described it differently than what he did, because it just seemed like the guy was like, oh, I don't want that job. I don't want that job. Then what job do you want? Well, I'm trying to find work.
Yeah, but it's not like...
Yeah, I know. Again, it's me kind of maybe picking at something that actually isn't there. It's just, it irked me when I first listened to it.
Yeah. I suppose.
And that's what the show is about. It's about discussing what irked and what we liked and what we didn't like about a creepypasta. Damn it.
That was one of the few things that I didn't mind. Like, that didn't bother me at all.
I know. I think it's just me, poking at this thing and, why is this...
You're just trying to poke holes.
I'm just poking at air. It's just like, what is this?
That's air. You need that to breathe. Just leave it alone.
No, I don't. Anyway.
Moving forward. So he does settle on the third one, I believe, right?
I thought it was the fourth one. He settles on, after a couple of them, he settles on, finally, Candle Cove, which was originally Pirate...
I don't remember the original name, to be honest.
Yeah, it was Pirate Party or something like that.
Yeah, something like that,
and it scratched out in Candle Cove.
Yes.
And the director's weird and, kind of seclusive, and he took the job as a set builder and stuff like that.
Because he connected with the main character, because he used to going on adventures and stuff when he was a kid.
Yeah, the whole idea of the whole idea of the little girl, that's kind of weird. It's he connected with the little girl character.
Not because he liked to wear pretty dresses. Yeah, because he liked to go on adventures.
Was that what I literally commented?
That's literally what you said when you first watched it. Yes.
So. And they still had they still had to find some characters or some actors
for voicing the different characters.
Yeah, voice work.
Which some of the puppets have very creepy names.
Oh yeah, well no, that's Great Candle Cove. Pirate Percy, the Skin Taker, Horace the Horrible. Mm-hmm. But I also gratuitous detail that seemed like the person was just fawning for I'm adding these details in because they're based off of the original creepypasta.
In regards to the puppets, I don't mind excessive detail, because if you're listening or reading it, we had to listen to it obviously, but listening or reading, you want to be able to visualize exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I guess there is a point where going into too much detail, but as long as it gives you a good mental image of the character or the item or whatever, then they did a good job. Yeah. They may have overdone it.
I think, maybe, and again, maybe it's because I have read Candle Cove a couple of times, and I know I'm steeped into the lore.
Yeah, so you're I already know what these guys look like. Why are you wasting my time?
I guess so. Yeah.
But for someone who doesn't know,
which I guess would be you, because
I know a bit. I don't know a ton. I obviously don't know as much as you do, but it was a bit wordy. He did explain a lot of things throughout the whole thing, way too much, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It'd be better to over-explain something than under-explain something.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yes.
But moving on. So we're not going to do the whole, there's really not a whole lot to this. The guy gets employment, works on the show. The show does well initially, and then the director starts adding really weird stuff to it, and the ratings start dropping. And then so they're trying to figure out and every time they have an idea, it gets shot down because the director has his own vision and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And eventually they have some characters on. They have a new actor named Nathan that comes on, but then he's gone for a couple of. He leaves after only
I think he showed up for one episode.
Yeah,
and then he's gone.
And then
this was kind of weird because first of all,
so this is all set in the 70s.
Well, the person reading it is in current day, but he's recalling the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says that, like, he was hearing reports of people, like, speculating online on forums, even, of where Nathan went. Like, and, like, some of them bordered from the conspiracies of, like, oh, well, he's off somewhere in Candle Cove, or he's been murdered. So that's, like, so back up a little bit. He says, so again, he's retelling it as if he was in the whole story from the 70s.
Yes.
And then he says that audiences were speculating online and on 70s. Forums.
In the 70s.
Sorry, maybe it's that, like, he's recalling that, like, people were saying that nowadays because they saw that episode?
Maybe, but the way it was presented, it really sounded like in the 70s, when this happened,
people
on the internet and on the forums, this is what people were saying.
On the non-existent internet, because computers are barely a thing at that point.
Yeah, on the internet, because there's no freaking internet back then. You're welcome. You can keep that.
Ow. That was me clapping and then face palming because, damn, that pun.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
No. Anyway, so yeah, and eventually, like, it gets they're nearing the end of their show. They finally worked out a script that the writers work out a script. And it seems like a really good one. It's a solid script. Like, they'll even bring Nathan back in, and they'll finally get a confrontation between Jane, or the main female character, and against the Skin Taker. And they send it to the producer, who's away, but he okays it, and then they hand it to the director, and the director just takes it and puts it and brings him into his editing room, and he's been locked in for days. And then he comes out and he's like, "All right, we have a new script, or all right, we have something," and he just grabs all the other scripts, throws them out when it's the day for shooting, and he's like, there's been some modifications to the script, and they read through the script, and all it is just in like huge bold letters and like all caps. Scream, 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 scream,
yeah.
scream, like just scream. And so he brings all the actors into the soundstage to start doing their line, like to get the voices and stuff. And they just start screaming at the top of their lungs. And he just starts telling them to scream and scream. And it upsets everybody. It's upsetting the kid. The camera guy is having to shoot the stage as they are just destroying the puppets.
Yeah, like the puppets are just smacking against all the props and destroying all the hard work because they made all this, right? Yeah, so he's just very, the whole narrator's just, like, going through this and just, like, staring at, like, it's the most surreal thing he's ever had. And then at the end of the day, he the guy grabs all the footage, runs into the editing room and locks himself in there. Everybody else is kind of just cleaning up for the day and wants to get rid of this and get past him. The sound guy hands him the sound clip, the audio files and stuff like that, and he just snatches them with his pale, drawn out. Also, the director has been
he's been deteriorating over the course of the story.
A corpse by the end. Yeah, his hair was thinning and he's getting really pale. He had bloodshot eyes, I believe.
Yeah. And he's also been talking to himself. It's yes, it has to be done. It'll be done like this. Yes, don't worry. Yeah. Like he's talking to somebody else. And then so the narrator packs up his stuff and just leaves Ashland for Long Island, which is where he's been living for the last 30 years. And then he talks about how the character, or how after the show ran, it bombed because it was such a horrific episode.
Yeah.
So the series died there. But since then, and then there was the director just never showed up again. He disappeared.
He completely disappeared. His car stayed in the parking lot.
They did say they found hair and teeth.
Teeth, yes.
That later was DNA checked to be his.
But his body was nowhere. It was just gone.
Yeah, and so. A couple of years later, some of the people start dying, not really mysteriously, but they just keep. He starts naming off the names of crew members and staff, and they they died this year, and then next year this one died.
Yeah, every single year, every single stagehand had something bad happen, whether it was a car crash or the disappearance or their house burned
horrible
down.
Accidents or incidences,
and some of them happened even 20 and 30 years in the future.
Yeah, so it's they lived on normal lives until they died of completely unrelated thing.
Yeah, so it was such a huge gap that it's. I assume what they're getting at is...
Well, they do mention, it starts off from, 73 to, 85, 87 or 90. No, 95.
I heard 90s.
95. Yeah, I heard 95.
Yeah, I heard 90s.
So, yeah. And that's really, I think, the end of the story. They do mention, the studio eventually caught fire somewhere in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But it's just, him retelling this creepy experience and why he's currently in Long Island and he's never returned to Ashland.
Mm-hmm. And he's telling the listeners that people have come forth with props that they've found that they want to give to him or sell to him.
And it's impossible.
And he's just saying, no, I don't care, leave us alone, kind of thing. We just want to let it go.
Don't. So yeah, like people, and he thinks it's weird that people are finding props because, hey, well, it burned down, like all the props and stuff are gone. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, that's actually the end of the story, I think.
Yeah, that's how it ends. Yeah,
it just kind of ends with him saying, like, if you see us if you find us or see us, don't bring up Candle Cove. It's a horrible memory that we just want to let the past be the past, kind of thing. And that's the end of the story. So again, this guy. So yeah, that's the rundown about Candle Cove. Mm-hmm. I'll leave a link in the description for the podcast. That said, the audio quality was okay. For the podcast, like on a technical point of view, the podcast and stuff like that, it was okay. My only beef with the podcast, with his reading of it, was that it seemed like it was all one take.
Yeah, like he skipped a lot. Like, he was jumbling his words a lot.
Yeah, he was jumbling his words. He was, like,
understandable.
And, like, he was stuttering and stuff like that. My problem with that is, like, and I mean, I really can't say much because we have, our show's done a lot. Like, we don't really do a whole lot of editing. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing a reading, like, there are people, artists out there that do readings on YouTube for a living. Yeah. Like, Mr. Creepypasta, McPasta, Miss Shadow Lovely. They know, like, when you're doing a reading, if you have a bad take, you edit it out and you add in a better take.
Especially when it's like 25 minutes long.
Also,
like that's hard to do an entire take perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
like you're not like most like audiobooks do the same thing. Like audiobooks are not done like from start to finish. They have there's multiple takes. Yeah. If the guy stutters or stops, you get they do a new take where it's not done smoothly, and then they just like nicely edit it in.
Yeah.
So that's my only real beef with the with RFC. Again, like if you want to listen to another creepypasta about Candle Cove, that you've probably read the storyline or the main plot points over beforehand, go check it out. I'll leave the description below. Yeah, that's really was my only beef, was that it was very tropey. Like I've seen this story done for Candle Cove done a couple of times.
Yeah,
and it's kind of getting old. Like they even use some of the characters in it aren't even from the original creepypasta Candle Cove. They're actually from some of the side stories.
Oh, really?
Like Grimes. Like the director's name I think is Grimes, and he has a full name. And they even mentioned some of the other names of the staff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, as he was reading those, I remember that from the ones we did back in episode 1 of El Dente. So yeah, it's just a they're pulling. I guess it's because the extended mythos of Candle Cove, so they're pulling from it. Yeah. But it just again done you're just kind of beating a dead horse is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, yes and no. Pretty much every creepypasta has its own problems. It's just those are the problems of this one, they should have done something a little more unique.
Yeah,
because if you're just doing the same thing, there's almost no point to reading.
Yeah, we've got to get it's is it still we have there's right now there's 2 or 3 major theories of what Candle Cove is, or how people approach Candle Cove. It's either it's static. And that it's just mass hallucinations, or 2, it's something supernatural, or 3, it's just kind of real world, it was an actual show, and this is all the production work to it. And then sometimes they blend in between those 3. I feel if there was more, if somebody could come up with more, there'd be a little bit more to it. Mm-hmm. If we could find another idea to make Candle Cove, or to do Candle Cove, maybe it could be. I just want some more diversity.
Yeah, so it's not okay, this is Candle Cove. It's going to be A, B, or C. Let's see which one it is.
Yeah, Whereas if you actually did something different, or if you changed that up a little bit, I'd be more encouraged to read this, or because right now, I'm not recommending this one.
Just go with the original one.
Yeah, just read the original one, or read some of the side story ones. They weren't too. If you want to read a Candle Cove story that's a detective story, or essentially, or an investigation of a supposed actual 70s production. There are several on. If you just type in Candle Cove on Google or creepypasta.wiki, you'll find them. I'll leave a link in the description below, so you guys can check those ones out, or just go to episode 1 and check out those side stories, because a couple of those were decent for the investigation or for that realistic version of the story. But yeah, so what's your view on it?
Well, I pretty much said my view all the way through. Like,
I mean, recommendation-wise.
It's not bad, but there was just things throughout it that really bothered me. Obviously, different things that bothered you, but I wouldn't really recommend it because I could see that there's a lot of ways to improve it, so I'm sure that there's far better ones out there.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because this will probably tie into the... did you hear that Sci-Fi Channel is actually doing a new horror anthology series, like kind of like True Detective or American Horror Story?
Oh, are they?
And the first season is covering Candle Cove.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
nice.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Like, if they're going to do, it's static. What does that mean? Like, why are people like seeing the show when they were kids and like now that it's just static? Or are they going to go with, it's Grimes, stuff like that. He's this crazy director and he shot this crazy show. I'm wondering how, they've got the right, like Sci-Fi now has the rights to Candle Cove from Kris Straub, the original creator. And none of that stuff like Grimes and the TV show and stuff is actually from Kris Straub. It's all just fan stuff.
Oh, all of it?
Really? the whole it's a show. No, Kris Straub's original thing was it's static.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like, so why are you seeing this creepy pirate show?
Well, if they legit have his blessing on it, then they're probably going to do it that way. I'm
hoping they'll do something they'll go that route or do something different because so we'll see what it is. Like, when it's supposed to be coming out, I think next year or something like that. So look forward to that. And I'm sure when it eventually airs, we'll actually have I'll probably do a discussion of some kind on it. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's about it.
All right. So that was our show for tonight. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, if you missed Dr. Leviathan, please send us an email at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. And you can also send us suggestions for other creepypastas. And hey, you can also send us messages over Twitter at Dr. Leviathan or at Review Cultist. You can also send us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Tumblr, Facebook, YouTube. If you like what we're doing and you are an iTunes subscriber, hey, send us a review. That would be awesome. And I believe that is it. Oh, and if you would like to support our show, you can donate on crazonstudios.tumblr.com, where you can check out all the title cards for each episode we do. You can press the donate button on the side and show some support. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I've been the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well. Dr. Leviathan or Dr. Leviathan, Dr. Review Cultist. Dr. Leviathan, Dr. Leviathan, Dr. Leviathan,